all my young life, I just knew about working at people's homes and of course trying to put something together for all of us. He did some shelters for us, and that's where we located, in between a forest. I left and I got employed as what? As an askari warungu.
When you connect the dots backward, what are those values? What are those fundamental lessons and perspectives?
The fear of having my family forever being servants of people. When I dropped out and I went home, what was home? Nothing. There was nothing at home apart from extreme poverty, and I've dropped out of campus. And as much as I teach now, I didn't study education. When I moved from that particular bank, now I came to the bank I work for. I work for I&M Bank. I was there for 5 years and I was the most successful manager.
Welcome to Stories of Significance, where we are intentionally transforming the world one story at a time. I am your host, Otumbo Vincent, the African leadership alchemist and a passionate believer in the power of purpose. Here, we uncover the stories behind the most inspiring African leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers. This is where real stories meet bold vision, stories that challenge us, stories that connect us, and stories that call us into transformation. Let us dive into today's story of significance. The question is, who are you without titles? And as you think of that, is it possible you take us back to your childhood?
Without titles, if you can remove all of them, I am quite an afraid man. And why I say so is the things that really keeps me awake, the things that keeps me moving on, is that which I see in front of me that needs attention, that which I see in front of me that is pain, that I see in front of me that is helpless. It makes me quite afraid. It makes me push harder as I try to solve that. And that's me without titles. Now, I grew up in the village, just quite very close to Abadeas, those places where it becomes so cold that sometimes you tend to look even for your ears. You feel you are not feeling them. It's such cold. Now, and not only is it cold, we also had extremities of what you could call extremities. So we were 5 of us in a family, and there's still 5 of us, even our parents are still alive. And at the very onset, when we were born, I would say we were moderate, because we were living in one of those small towns in the village. My father used to have a small hotel and a shop at the same time. That is until I was 5. Then after that, my dad got sick, pretty sick, and he was sick for around 2 years. And that's when things changed. There's quite a bit of change in the life we knew as we knew it. So from a modest life, we really were pushed to very, very deep in poverty. I remember, of course, those days, for those who can associate, in the 80s and very, very early 90s. What happened is that when he became quite sick, it's about you selling your things. I mean, you really sell everything. So we went quite deep in trouble and in problems. To point, I remember even the home we had, we relocated to another area, a different place, where we were settled in a modest mud environment. And of course, staying and living up in a muddy house isn't anything new, but we were not used to that. So I'm trying to say, from that kind of a scenario, where it was quite poor. We were quite helpless, and it was from a result of a disease that my dad had to go through for 2 years. Now, by the time that he was starting to become well, I remember one day, it was an afternoon of Friday. Of course, those people who were schooling in the village, of course, without shoes and walking very long journeys. I remember one day, I found my father seated outside, of course, the way many in the village sit outside. And he called me and told me that I want you to sit here. And I sat next to him. And he told me that he's going, that he's not going to be with us. And he told me that he wanted me to take care of the family. And I was maybe 9, 10, thereabout. I asked him how. He just told me, I want you to study, because that's the only way you can get back what you used to have or improve your family. So he literally told me, I'm handing over the family to you. You are not the firstborn, but I see a sense of good judgment and I see hard work in you. I would say that there before, I was really an ordinary boy, but that gave me an awakening call. At that time, I remember I was in class 6, 5 or 6 thereabout. And it really changed me in a way that I immediately decided that I want to have a different approach into life. And the different approach into life, it was just hard work in school. I remember from class 6 all the way to class 8, I was the best student. And it kept in being the best student and best student. To a point, in some point, later on in life, I could ask God, is it that you gave my father the disease he had to go through that time for over 2 years so that you can change me? And if at all that is the extremities you can go, then you could be a different kind of a God. If you can take people through kind of punishment. I'm talking about really sick. I remember there is a time he was in hospital for a full 8 months, continuous. And it is also a point where it takes you from a certain position to a point where for those who believe in the Bible, the story of Job, that you are really in a lot of trouble until you ask difficult questions. So that is my childhood. And by the time I was cleared in class 8, yes, I could say I was a top child, but again, entirely helpless. Thank God my dad survived. He's alive even today. And I look at him. Of course, the whole disease left him with a deformity. But the point is that he's alive and he's witnessing what happened after. In fact, I have never sat with him to remind him those words. And I don't plan to. But those words is what really changed my life.
Wow. That is quite deep. You mentioned that when your dad called you and had a sitting, he was aware that you're not the firstborn. So which number do you come in the family?
I'm the second born, following up a man. And then behind me, there's a boy and 2 girls.
Okay. So when you talk about going back to his sickness took you back to the life that probably you were not used to, could you paint us a picture? How was the life before and now the life that you found yourself in? And
yes.
What did it, how did it affect you in that process?
Okay, so as those days, of course, those people are my age and older. Having a car in the village was one of the things that would look like people are modest. So I would say we had, my dad had a truck. As I've said, he had a shop, he had a hotel, and we were living at the back or behind the shop. So the way there's a shop in front, and then of course you're living at the back. So that is, I would say, that is what we'd call riches in the village. And of course, he had some plots of land all over the place. And he was largely a businessman who was successful in our salads in the village in the central province. So the sickness emptied all that we saw one thing living after the other. Of course, businesses closing, vehicles being sold, pieces of land being sold. He was only left with an acre of land. And an acre of land in the village is something very small. And it was not even in a good place. I would say that for those who know Central, it's place that have got a lot of hills. So the piece of land that was left is the piece that could not be sold. And it was somewhere down in the river. So even reaching there, you have got to really go very steep hill, downhill, of course, passing people's chambers, in a point that you go all the way down and then your home is down at the floor of the whole place. So it is like you walk down a hill from here to maybe Buxton, going down. So then now you can reach your piece of land, and it's because most likely it will not have been sold. So that is where he did some shelters for us, and that's where we located, in between a forest. And then, of course, we started life again. I mean, my dad would do, okay, that time he was sick, but then ourselves on Saturday, we'll do cashier jobs, okay? And even in the evening, when we come from school, we would have some pieces of lard, measured some place, and then my mother and dad, in his weaknesses, would have, of course, negotiated pricing. Then, as a student, would go and do that work, in the evening, carry borea to people's majani, those kind of things, and literally do hard work to try to have food. And when you talk about food, the food we'll talk about is maize. I don't know whether you have had boiled maize with nothing else, that kind of a life. So, of course, things like tea was luxury. Once in a while to be there when there's money to buy milk, because, of course, at the early stages, even cows were not there in our home. So all my young life, I just knew about working at people's homes and, of course, trying to put something together for all of us. And, of course, my mom also was working hard. And, of course, she was now the person holding in. But then, of course, after my dad recovered slowly, then he started gaining his health. He picked up. And, of course, he started working hard again on the same kind of concept. Not in businesses, but you're talking about ribaruas. So that is basically the pain that really formed a judgment in me that I really don't want this. And sometimes it's a good thing to go through that, but it's not something you could wish on anyone. But it really transforms you. It really changes you. And one thing I would say is that as we walked through that time, and it wasn't not a day, not a year, we're talking about a prolonged period, because, of course, it really came all the way to my working life. I would say so. And maybe he'll ask about the working life, how all this started, because the sad story goes all the way to the beginning of the working life. And if what you find is that, it really requires you to be very strong inside, that you can still remain true regardless of the desperation and the hopelessness that surrounds you. And when you remain true, there is a formation of some inner energy that keeps on building on you until, to a point, there'll be a manifest of exactly a character of a person that really gives you the end product. So largely that is how it was. And that is how bad it was. And I remember these days when I go home, I sit with them in a modern home with everything. I really don't want to say that I would wish for more, because it is really a significant story.
Thank you. Some conversations are very deep, but we have to move on. Thank you for sharing. But then I will go back to you again. This was a redefining moment in your family where you were born. Apart from the value of hard work, because I believe this is where also your foundations were laid as a leader, as a man, as a leader. That's where your foundations was laid. They were laid by those moments of when you had abundance, when there was lack. You as Dr. James, what are those, when you connect the dots backwards, what are those values? What are those fundamental, lessons and perspectives you picked from there that you also had the right to say, it's okay, I can be a fool in school, I don't have to work hard? What are those values that formed the foundation of the man that you have become today at that early age?
You see, your environment has a lot of influence on the decisions you make on a daily basis. As you decide on the environment that you are in, there is a lot of influence that shapes what exactly you make a decision on a daily basis. If I say all human beings are animals, in fact, I want to really be a little bit more clear, more clear and say this. If today we were all abandoned in the Amazon, we'll struggle, get sick for a few months, a few weeks. After that, we'll adopt that life. And you'll not be in need of a home or a house. You'll have changed to that environment. You look at each other and see yourself no more. And you'll not be crazy in any way. It's because the environment has shaped you and has made a little bit of a change. In fact, could be major change into what you have become now. Now, that is one of the things I would say, that the environment itself that we create for ourselves, we create for our children, has an influence and shapes to what they become. It is important for all of us to really make choices of what really we interact with on a daily basis. You know, a human being is full of energy, and the energy that human being tend to portray or to come out, to have an impact on, is that which is triggered, right? I mean, you have unlimited potential and unlimited capacity, but it's only portrayed or brought out by trigger off. So the interactions that you tend to, whether with environment, whether with people, are very important choices into what you ultimately become. So in summary, in my leadership of what exactly I later alone have become, I don't know what my dad saw, because as I've said, I'm not the firstborn, but I was this kind of a person who would want to lead. And my thinking it was not even to lead. I would want to help. Like I would really want to help, whether I can help or not. Initially, let me go back a bit. Before this story with my dad, I was any other kind of a guy, very fighting, don't care. In fact, even today, I have a mark in my head where I was involved in a brawl or a war with a very, an elderly man, or not an elderly, I know a bigger boy. I was a very young guy, but in the village, there are this habit of when you're passing, somebody calls you any name. Then in our village, there is a common name in Kikuyu we call Kehe. That means a boy and uncircumcised, all manner of whatever you can associate with it. So this guy, and he was a married man, a young man, of course, maybe the age of OV or thereabout, called me that, and I didn't accept it. So I went for him. And now, of course, I was a Kehe anyway in that kind of a version, but I could fight. I could not accept things as they came. I'm talking about before this change that really changed us. So I don't know how that would have been if at all it would have continued in the comfort zone that we were in. And what I'm trying to say, this guy even ended up, I don't know, he took a broken bottle, hit me in the head. The next minute, I woke up in hospital having been unconscious for a prolonged time. So, I mean, those kind of issues sometimes tend to develop in you the worst of you. And if at all that is what will continue being triggered, the worst of you, then you most likely adopt and become the worst version of yourself. Now, I'm trying to say that you can be many things as a human being because you have capacity to become. And it is possible for you to become many things. But then the trigger, the energies, the environment, the forces that you subscribe yourself to on a daily basis, kindness, and other interactions that you'd want to pick, then of course they trigger the other side of you. And over time you find that other side of you really overweighs what else would have become. And then that defines you now as a person. And that is why you will see consistency in people because of choices. And that is maybe how I would answer the question of what the earlier formations that has brought about, let alone what I've become. Now, what I've become now is that the version of trying to solve problems, whether they are for people or for myself, tend to define you in front. For example, if really I want to have an open conversation, maybe I want to think about OV, without an agenda, we'll trigger a conversation and discuss and move on. Or that other person, and I want to maybe discuss politics as a person that you want to have a conversation about politics, because of course you have already picked their energies, you've picked their opinions, and of course you believe they'll give you context and content in the contextualized area that you really want to consult on. Yeah, basically that's what I would say, that the environment really forms you.
So, so I go back to my question again. How did it form you? Those moments. Are there lessons that then you picked from there? I know one of them you said it hard work. That then they became, you see, like a house has got pillars that make it stand and define how far you can go. So then, apart from the pillar of hard work, what are those values those circumstances that you draw back, and when you look back, they connect to the person, that they are the anchor that drives you?
Good. Now, I want all of us here to start hating poverty. Not in a bad way, so that you look for a solution. Now, the fear of having my family forever being servants of people gave me scares. That, when a neighbor owned the lad farmed comes for you, of course there are no phones, but then a child will be sent to come and negotiate, to come and invite you so they can come and pluck teas in their farm, or come and carry borea to the shamba. And those kids are with you in school, so they will see you in that version. It is painful, extremely painful for a young man growing, because it's not a choice you have chosen. Now, when you think about those things, then you start picking choices. Now, and these choices, first is that you feel you want change and you want to drive yourself towards that change. Now, leave alone hard work, because sometimes you could be a hardworking person and there's no work to be done, the hard work, right? But I'm talking about the focus of your mindset, that you are looking towards something different. That the only thing that will be remaining that particular time is just an opportunity. Now, when you're such focused, then things like the supportive pillars of focus, one of them, of course, being hard work. Number two, being discipline, right? And when you talk about discipline, means that it is a consistency in the habit. So the discipline that drives hard work must be on a day-to-day basis. It is not a version that comes in when you're approaching an exam, or when you're approaching your parent, or when you're sitting in a conversation. It's a discipline that is on a consistency, predictable and a deliberate manner. So, meaning that you can be predicted your results on something that you are engaged in on a certain time. So then when you combine that with hard work, then you'll most likely develop a vision or a blurred image of what exactly will be the other side. Now, once that starts moving, then you'll find that as the steps becomes faster or you start moving forward, then the image that has been very blurred, it starts becoming a little bit clear. And what I'm saying here in short is that once you formed something, that this is, whether it's a vision of a company, of an institution, you could form it from scratches or from blocks, from nothing, or you could maybe make it a replica of something that you've already seen or researched about. But then once you form that and you're really focused on that, of course, you don't have the details because you don't have the company in front of you, nor do you have the job in front of you. But now the idea is formed, and now you start asking yourself on the blocks that can help you move towards that particular image that as of this particular stage is very blurred. So, like even today when I talk to my sons, I know they are all interested in avionics. None of anybody in my house or in my family have studied avionics. But then I find that I am trying to build them into getting more details about that. So how comes there are two of them and they all love planes so much? And I've never done anything about this. What I'm trying to say is that there is that is in you that requires some forms of trigger, and then you need to do the blocks. Then as you continue going forward, you'll find that the image start becoming clear. And it is not about anything else. It's just about you having the capability which you have, very unlimited, a lot. In fact, it is true that the richest of all places are in the burial places, because people have been buried there having never even reached a fraction of their capacities. So meaning that as we continue giving us these particular conversations, it is possible for you to look inside yourself, quietly when you are all alone, and try to ask yourself difficult questions. What exactly is it for? What exactly am I doing on a daily basis? What am I driving to? And am I really moving? And what do I need to start moving? And when I look back those days, I see that in as much as I didn't have even an idea, I only had one person that I was thinking that was successful. And he made me have a formation of a career, which I didn't know. I knew he was an accountant, one of my uncles, but I didn't even know what an accountant does or what they do. And as much as I never became an accountant, I mirrored that. And over time, I started seeing him come with an old car in the village those days made me have a formation of an idea of what exactly does he do. And then I started having something to do towards that. So we could be lucky in our different capacities. We could be unlucky in our situations. But that would be the extreme of it, is not doing anything about it. And largely, once you start doing anything about it, that is the only time you can be able to identify an opportunity. And then once you identify an opportunity, then it's possible to have a formation of a goal or a vision or a destination that earlier on you couldn't have been able to define it.
Okay. So I would like to transition to what happened after that, your education, and now joining to your career. How was that journey like? And where did it start? How did it go up to where you are now?
Okay. So after class 8, I did very well. Of course, those guys were older. I was called to a school. We call it the Jiri School. It is it used to be one of the best schools in Central Province. It used to always be position, I think, 4 or 5 in the country those days before the matters of counties and sub-counties and other things came about. So from day one, there was no school fees. I remember even the day I reported, I scarcely had anything. But as fate would have it, I was still admitted. I would study a month, 2 months at home, come back again, hide and seek, a month or 2, go back home. Yeah, until that was, I joined high school in 1994, 1995, then cleared in 1998. Then after that, of course, I joined college. I was invited to do a degree in education, which I was not interested. And again, I saw a change in life that sometimes I think it came from the earlier years. So it's always, of course, it looks very sad when I explain it. And when I look at it now, I think it was the best decision of my life. So when I tried to change my degree from education to accounting, I had said that accounting had formed what exactly I really wanted to do. I was not able to. You remember those days, university education was not as liberalized as it is today. There were only, I think, 7 or 8 universities those days. And you could either go to university or not go to university. There were no other stories. So I dropped out because I didn't want to do education. And as much as I teach now, I didn't study education. I became a teacher by virtue of being having a PhD. So when I dropped out and I went home, what was home? Nothing. There was nothing at home apart from extreme poverty. Extreme poverty. And I've dropped out of campus. And I was not crazy. And let me tell something. I was not on drugs. I had not taken anything. I can, with a straight face today, tell you, I've never taken a beer in my life. And I've never smoked, leave alone drugs. So when I went home, I faced the desperation that I had faced. And I, of course, at high school, I could not even get a certificate because there was a school fees balance of around 86,000 or thereabout. So I don't have my school living certificate. I don't have anything, and I've gone back home. So I stayed for like 2 months, and then I left. What did I leave to? I left and I got employed at 4,400. That was in the early 2002, 2001. As what? As an askari warungu. You see, not a policeman, but guards, the people who guards your homes and guards parkings and other things. And that's the job I started with. And I don't even know why I took it, because it would have been easier for me just to go back to campus. But I really had that conviction that I was doing the right thing. So I got the first one. It wasn't very interesting. So I changed jobs. Of course, once you become an askari, you change jobs in the askari from one place to another. I got another one that gave me an extra 200 shillings. I remember I was staying now in our town center, sleeping on the floor. Of course, nothing. Of course, even it was a mabati structure. Yeah, so I was very lucky now to get the best of askari jobs in a factory. So now that time my salary was 4,900 shillings. And I worked there for around 8 months. And sometimes on the 8 months, there was some burglary, thieves came and stole many things from the factory. And as fate would have it, that day I was on off. So I was lucky because some of the guys that were on duty with us used to have 3 or 4 guys guarding the factory at the same time. Some of the people who were on duty that day, they went to jail, 15 years, 10 years. I don't even know when they left. But I left that job and then looked for another one. The other one I got was still an askari. And your guess could be as good as mine. I was guarding a dam. And I was guarding a dam at night. So today I look at it because I go there sometimes and I see the water not covered. And I would be there at night alone, guarding the water and the pumps. And I know, I look at it and I feel, no, it's God. It was very sad, extremely sad. And maybe we could have a break. So I gathered the plant for the time that God gave me. And then what I noted is that my vision that I had at the beginning, it started, of course, coming alive in me. So what I noted is that I started having the desire of going back to what exactly I really wanted. And I would guard at night. Then during the day, I started to study. Of course, you can't forget I'm still a very sharp boy, a top boy. In fact, I remember when I cleared high school, I was top in the zone, I think top in the district or something, because I remember they came for me from Jiri school to go for the presents as the zone and whatever it is. I don't know. I think those days used to have some out of 700 or something. I had some 560 or thereabout, some very good performance. I think all A's or whatever it is. I don't even know how it is graded now. So I would guard the dam at night and during the day I would study. And what was I studying? I borrowed books for accounts. They were not the right books. So I started studying and reading. I could do Introduction to Accounting and others. Then out of my salary of 4,000 shillings, I called over the Christmas, our grandma would assemble us in the village. Of course, we would go there, of course, eat together and be very happy. So I had a conversation with my uncle and I told him, I just want you to help me to do the exams. I hear there are CPA exams that I can study alone and go do. But he was still very annoyed with me because I dropped from college. But then he agreed. He guided me on how to register. So I managed to register as a student of CASNEB. And of course, of my high school grade, which was a good one, I managed to register directly from CPA1. So to cut very extended story is that I would do the guarding at night. During the day, I would sleep maybe up to around 11. Then, of course, in my mabati shelter, of course, with a stove, I would cook my lunch and all that, then study from there. Then after 6 months, I now managed to do my first exam. Of course, I failed, only to realize that I was reading the wrong things because I didn't even have... I didn't have the right books. I didn't have the right content. So I failed. But the beautiful thing is that after that particular exam, now when you were students, you were all private students, I was able to interact with guys. I was able even to see what exactly the books I need. I was even told where to buy them in the streets. So I had come to Thika to do the exam. I stayed in my uncle's place one night. The following day, I was able to look for the books and then went up. The following 6 months, your guess is as good as mine, I passed. CP1, section 1 and 2, I passed. I'm still guarding. So then after that, now I decided I need to start looking for a job. So I visited one of the circles. Of course, there. You could only be employed in case you are son or a daughter of a director or something like that. Got frustrated. I gave up. Then I would do that during the day because, of course, at night I'm working. Then I approached one of the banks those days. Of course, the banks are started in Central Province. I went one day and camped in one of those banks. And I remember there's a lady, her name was Rusem Russia. Up to today, I think she's one of the people I would say that practices humanity, extreme humanity. Because I went to her and I told her I'm looking for a job. She asked me of my papers. I told her I don't have any papers. I don't have a Form 4 degree, a Form 4 certificate, as I've told you, the school fees balance. And of course, those days, the headmasters and all that would retain it. CASNEP had registered me through a copy, and I don't even know how the copy was given to my uncle by the bursar. And unfortunately, that copy had not even retained it. So I was given one copy, and that is the copy I think I took to CASNEP, but I did not even have a copy. So the only thing I had was a CPA transcript. She told me, no, we are looking for graduates. Minimum is a CPA or a graduate. I told her I don't have, but give me anything, even if it's cleaning, I'll take. So she didn't give me cleaning job, but she interviewed me on what I could do, and I gave her my story. Guys, never be ashamed of your stories. Your stories sometimes is what really is game changer. She told me there's nothing I can do for you, but I'll refer you to Nairobi. So she gave me a date to go to Nairobi, a Nairobi that I was not even aware. I didn't even know it. But I had passed through there a few times going to my grandmother's. So the day came for me to go to Nairobi in Upper Hill. So there was only one bus that would leave our place sometimes at 5 a.m. I took the bus, and 3, 4, 5 kilometers from home, it spoiled. We were there up to 11 a.m. That's when now the journey started for Nairobi. So I arrived in Nairobi at 3 or 4 p.m. in the evening. The interviews are done. I don't even know Upper Hill is where. So I am dropped at, it's called what? Is it Nyamakima? The deep down there. So I'm dropped at Nyamakima. I start asking for direction. So I take this route. The road takes you the other side. You take this other route, take the other side. You keep on asking. I was in Upper Hill around 5:30 when everybody is closing. I found the last candidate leaving, and the askari refused me to do an interview. And then I refused to go. I again stayed there. So when the interviewers, one of the interviewer came out and asked what is wrong with him, the askari tried to explain. I've tried to tell him to go, and he's not going. So he came and asked me, what is wrong with you, young man? I again gave my story. When I gave my story, he went inside and he called me inside. So I did not do an interview. I just gave my story. So when I gave my story, I was given a job. So I came from 4,000. I was given 25,000. I felt sick. It was too much. It was extremely too much. So that time, it was maybe sometimes past 6 in the evening. And the bus is gone. There was only one bus back home. I start now worrying. I don't even know how to go back to Nyamakema. Nor do I even know how I'll go home. So I walked back, getting direction. Now it's dark in Nairobi. And I arrived in Nyamakema and requested an askari whether I can stay there. And I stayed there overnight. Very cold. And until the following day. So then I took the bus. When the bus came, now I took the bus back home. Now, after some time, I went to the local branch of the particular bank. And then they kept telling me, your letter has not come. Ultimately, my letter came. And I now resigned from being an askari and joined the bank as a cashier. So I was posted in Nairobi. And I requested at least to be posted in Thika, because of course Thika would start somewhere. I didn't know where to start. So I was lucky. They posted me to Thika. I requested my uncle to give me a few days or a few months to start my career there. And that's how I started my banking career. So that was in early 2002, thereabout. And that has been the journey now. From that time, I decided that immediately I get settled in the banking sector, I'll go back to school. I came to realize it's not as easy as that, because I never went back to school until 2008. It took a whole 6 years to go back to study. Now, I also noted, and I could maybe say here, that again, the influence of now you are feeling like you have so many things to solve. I had to ensure my kids, my siblings, clear school. That was a priority. I needed, of course, there's something I'd promised my mother for a long time, that if I ever get money, I'll replace your cows. Because there was one cow and a calf and I think some few goats that had been sold over the time of now again being in school. The way your parents in their own literal way, they buy a small calf, bring it up, just started becoming a cow that can give milk. Then again, you have joined high school. There's nothing else. It has to be sold, right? They are left without anything. So it gives you a debt. And of course, these are some of the things that I had to work on my siblings going through school. And then, of course, now going back to campus. So I joined campus in 2008. And, of course, again, cleared my CPK. And I didn't leave campus until 2021 when I finished my PhD. So, my school life, that when I was studying, it was also again a very difficult time, because it is you leaving the office at an hour like now, because I was working for a very busy bank, and going to class or going to study because you are on a distance learning. I would do distance learning for some of the units. What I used to do, I would choose the units depending on how I'm thinking I would be able to move around. So I could choose a mix of the units that I can study on my own and a few of the mathematics and accounting, so that I'm only able to request for early running to class only a few days per week. So you'd find even when I'm in fourth year, there are units that are for first year that are not taken. But of course, I'd consulted widely and confirmed that you can do those kind of balancing. I did well. I think I did a bachelor's in accounting and finance, then followed up with a master's in finance. And then ultimately I did a PhD in economics. So as of now, I would say that I'm an expert in economics. So beyond that, of course, as I've said, I did CPK, I cleared. I also did CIFA, for those guys who know, Certified Financial Investments and Analysis. I'm also a certified insurer, and of course also a certified auditor. So I've really captured quite a bit. And then, thanks for that. Then, of course, I teach on part-time basis. Some of you maybe have met in class. I teach MBA at JQuat and Moi. And sometimes I used to teach technical university, but of course I had to really scale down because of the responsibilities I have. So I worked for that particular bank for 10 years, and I grew to become the youngest manager. I became a branch manager in 2009. I was a very young man. I was, I think, 27, 28 there, and was a branch manager. I remember when I was interviewed, the people who interviewed me for branch manager position, they asked me a few questions. That you're too young, and I don't know why you invited for this particular position. And my answer was, I don't know how I was invited. Maybe you could get to know that from you, because you invited me for this particular interview. That particular answer changed everything. Because whatever you looked at and invited me, I can't know. You are the one who have invited me. So when I said that to two directors, they told me, let's progress. So then I delivered what I think was important for the context of the interview. So this says what? That sometimes there could be judgments on you on other circumstances, situations that are beyond you. Being a young man, being a young lady, I was very thin. I was not this size. I was extremely thin. If you see those
Looks
images.
like you've revenged on everything. Education, thinness.
So, and they gave me a branch. Now branch manager. They gave me a branch in Mombasa. And before I became a branch manager, I was a senior operations manager. And the senior operations manager was given in Mombasa. And the branch I was given had 65 workers. And I was a very young guy. So I was managing a crowd on a daily basis. And again, as fate would have it, my branch manager fell critically sick and she moved to India and she was admitted there for a long time. So again, I became the de facto leader even before I became a branch manager. So, and I really managed in a way that up to today, my customers, those customers that I served from the 2000s and something all the way to 2009 when I was a branch manager, they are with me. They have been making journeys with me. I've only worked for 2 institutions. The one I work for, now that one which I can mention now, but of course the earlier one, the customers that I was with them there, they moved with me. So what I'm trying to say is that the leadership skills that had come in out of trying to come out, it's like have a way of chasing you about. And when I became that kind of manager as early as that, then it didn't stop. I have only seen things keep on changing. So in summary, when I moved from that particular bank, now I came to the bank I work for. I work for I&M Bank. I was already here in Mombasa, so I was given Nyali branch. It's just behind you here. It used to be a Cinemax. I was there for 5 years, and I was the most successful manager. There were a lot of doubts. Because you know why there were doubts, guys? I was given that job, and the person who handed over to me was an expatriate. A white person. Not even a white, okay, an Indian, who had come from India to manage the branch. He handed over to me. And of course, I was handed over on a low scale. He used to have a driver, a car. So a car and a driver was no longer with me. But of course, you are less a manager, of course. And I have no problem. And by the way, I never noted that. I came to know that later. And I was happy with it. Because of course, I don't even think I had a driving license by then. So could that worry you? It's none of your worries. So I stayed there for 5 years and then moved to another branch. I think I've only been in Mombasa. Now, I am now celebrating my 15th year with I&M Bank. And 2 years ago is when I was appointed as regional manager supporting 7 counties. So, of course, if I can go back, is that as much as I've been transformed, I've also transformed the people around me. I've transformed my parents. They live the life they would have always wanted. Sometimes we talk. My mother like crying. I don't know, because she really know how the journey has been, and ultimately that's what has been me. I support, as I've said, the region. I'm currently supporting 11 branches. We are growing a lot. I start from Ukambani to Lamu. Yeah, that's what I do on a daily basis, especially when I'm not teaching. Okay.
Wow. I think we can give a round of applause to that story. I know in the process you've talked about people who have been destiny builders and destiny connectors in your story that helps shape who you've become today. And I would like to go back and probably stay a little bit on that. You've mentioned your uncle, the lady who referred you to Nairobi. In your experience, what is the role of mentorship in transforming people's stories, especially from where they come from and whom they can become? And apart from the two you've mentioned, is there somebody who has also played a key role, including your parents actually? Is there somebody who has played a key role to the man that you've become today and your leadership development as well?
Okay, thanks for that. If we could go back to the lady who was kind to me, when I joined her bank, she was transferred from the local branch to Thika. Not because of me, but when I joined the bank in Thika, I found her there. She again happened to be the person who trained me banking. And she trained me in the best of ways. Now, when I came back, as I kept on moving and developing that particular bank, let me surprise you, I became her boss.
Wow.
That's how fate put people together. I became her boss. And, you know, there are those things that happens and you ask yourself, what is this? Let me say this. It's many things are connected. They don't just happen. In fact, when you were discussing with her much later, because of course now she was a mature lady, an elderly mother. When we were discussing with her, she would come out and tell me that she still don't know why she recommended me, because I didn't have papers and I was in the worst of dressing. I would tell you honestly, people talk in movies. Mine was a truly borrowed, oversized kind of an attire. Extremely oversized. Then I had walked for like 15, 20 kilometers in a dusty road to go to that particular branch of the bank. So I was dusty, and of course with that brown thing on a collar, you know. So it's nothing that you could say that this is a banker they want, you know, the kind of a person. Today when I interview guys, you know, they come dressed and they even change their voices.
An accent.
Yes, they come, you know, tuned for the moment. And of course, that is something that really frustrates me. Whenever somebody comes in that kind of a version, then most of the time I put them at the back of my mind, not at the front of my mind, at the back of my mind. Because I'm the kind of a person who believes in stories that are true. And immediately I pick a story that is not true, then what else are you hiding? There could be a lot. So this lady, in as much as it didn't work with her for a long time, is that she really, you need the parent, not really the parent that bore you. You need the parent in everything that you engage yourself in. It could be not because of experience. As I've said, I became her boss. But you need those hearts that you fall into. You see, a mother is somebody you trust. And you trust blindly. That a mother will tell you fall, and you can fall. Because, of course, you know, when she told you that you need to fall, of course, you know that she most likely she'll catch you. I see myself, I settled very well in banking because of that mother lady that was in the particular environment I was in. And we were strangers until maybe later on we became friends. And my uncle, I would say this, and maybe I don't want to encourage you, maybe you could be encouraged, maybe you can do that. My uncle helped me from a point of being the proverbial lady who never left and knocked and bothered until the owner of the house said, I better serve this lady to live. For those who believe in the Bible. Right? My uncle helped me or did what he needed to do because of being such a perpetual bother. So, of course, having a relative that can do that is a good thing. But I'm trying to say that you take it up whether through the people who can work with you through processes, or you push it through if you think that is what exactly is going to really take you to the next level, depends on you. But for me, I know I really bothered him. I would say that I have picked mentors over time, and I've worked with people who have shaped me for a very prolonged time. There's a lady, unfortunately, right now she got a stroke, so she doesn't work anymore. She used to be my direct boss at the bank I used to work for. And sometimes people who are working, I need to tell you, need to be very careful. Because she got the stroke because of overworking, extreme overworking. But she gave me responsibilities that I thought I didn't deserve, and I got scared that I don't want to fail. So I did my best in responsibilities that I thought I didn't deserve, to a point that it perfected me early in life to being a person that is responsible. When she got a stroke at workplace, her position was split into 4 directorship. And she was alone for a prolonged time. I remember we were doing a system migration. The bank had become so big. I think that time we were 4 million customers thereabout. So, and the system migration wasn't successful. So I understand she had not slept for over a week, trying to manage processes, complaints, chaos. Because you can imagine 4 million customers not able to transact because of a system changeover, and you are in charge of the process. After that, she became sickly. Over time, I understand she got a stroke. Then the bank kept her on payroll, I think, for 3 years. After that, she was put on another 2 years of half pay. Then she was let go. The institutions will go on. They'll move on like you never existed. So again, don't forget about yourself.
All right. I think at this particular time, I'll open up to the audience if they have a question for you. Anyone who has a question? So Mohammed.
Now, to our young people, I want to say one thing. Pick somebody to walk your journey. Please don't pick anything on social media or a peer to work with. Pick a mature person, and especially if you are in your early 20s on something, pick anybody that is settled in some way of life who is past 30. Walk with them your journey. And when I say walk with somebody your journey, be extremely open in the things that disturbs you. Some of the ways that the youngsters want to really live are ways to try to, to really satisfy an ego, to bring themselves up. You do not, that kind of lifting, the lifting of some ways of dressing, disorderly life, like, for example, let me be honest. The other day, I met a lady in my office, and I told her, we're serving customers. I want you dressed differently. I know it's your right to dress. It is your way. It's your choice. In fact, they said, my dress, my choice. But we are serving customers. I don't want a customer to come in front of you and refuse service. And from that day, I've seen a transformed person. Now, maybe to her, to him, it's not a problem, because it is not a problem. But then, is there someone who is sitting, taking time to have a conversation with him or her and tell them, if you really want to become a consultant and serve skill, there's some ways. There's the way you speak, okay? There's the way you talk to the customers. And you'll note this. One of the problems that we're having as parents, we are not attaching our children to people that can help them. I mean, don't only take your kids for internship after college, for work-life experiences. Allow them spend time with him. If it's a young man, of course, my sons knows the way I've taken them sometimes in some corners and give them some thorough correction. But if they were to spend an afternoon with OV somewhere there, they will learn a lot more. And that can be regular. Pick a person who is close to you. By the time a boy is 10 years, start having them have conversation with other people. Because you see, one more thing I've noted now, and I don't want to say this like it looks like a bad thing. I'm seeing girls doing much better in interviews and in what you call office life than boys. You know why? Because as girls mature, they're associating themselves with the opposite gender that are older than them. They are learning from more experienced people. What about the boys? They can only associate themselves with the peers and lower, because us as parents, we have not taken the initiative of attaching them to people who can school them. There's a lot of unlearning that they need to have. So you find in an interview or an invitation of 10, you could, of course, even the applicants are more ladies than boys, because even the exposure to information, ladies are having much more than men. Now, and even access to information, presentations, the skills, we are finding much more girls than men. In fact, even the institution I work for now, it is 56% ladies and 44 and 44% men. So you'll find, of course, you find men maybe in the positions of leadership, but then what it tells you in the future, boys are going to have much more trouble because they will keep on getting out of the context, and these ladies are still the one that has to become their wives. So what is going to happen is that there's a lot of inferiority that's going to have a built up in our societies. So I'm saying, parents, we need to attach our children to answer his question to people who can walk their journeys so that they can assure them on order, because some of these things are disorders. The ways of dressing, adopting some cultures, they want to have dreads, they want to have other versions of stories, and this is going just to become a bottleneck in otherwise a beautiful career of a young person. So the journey is that somebody must hold your hand. You are a young person that is here. Choose a person. They don't even need to be your pastors. They don't need to be your sheikhs. They just need to be a person that you know has order in their life, and they'll help you walk your journeys. In fact, sometimes they even build the confidence you need to give your story. And already to give your stories to identify opportunities. So have someone who can walk with you, travel your kind of terrain, rough, easy, whatever it is, and the other side will be a story of significance.
Wow.
She have a question?
Yeah. And maybe just to add on that, by the way, the principles of life don't change. They are always constant. You may bring AI, but the principle, that AI is built on that principle. So the principles of life don't change. One of it is what goes up has to come down. You can come with aeroplanes, at the end of the day, they'll be on the ground. So that is very important. Yes, we hear your question.
Okay, thanks. I mean, her question is, first of all, what is success? I would say that success is in the eyes of beholder. Every one of us, how you can know you're successful is by you getting to know that there is a person who is worse than you. When you appreciate that there's a person who is worse than you in the current circumstances that you are in, means that you have a level of success. Whichever way you define it. But then how do you sustain it? And how do you move forward the next step? Do you move forward by living in the best of places? That is how you will move forward. Do you move forward by having the best of schools? The best of titles? I would say no. Let me go back and say this. That when I became a manager of my former bank, I used to live in Mishomroni, and I stayed there for a very long time. And I was a manager. And I know my juniors, most of them that were not living there, it's not a bad place, it's a very good place. But what I'm trying to bring into the context is that one of the mistakes that young middle class professionals have done in this life is to chase a fallacy. I remember even when I left Mishomoroni, because now I wanted to look for a place where I can park a car, I went to Kisumu Dogo. That was my upgrade. Because at the back of my mind, I knew there were much more important things I need to handle and solve for a prolonged time. You see, I've seen recently, I don't want to look like I am going away, but I want to say this. I had a conversation with now a former senior manager of one of the biggest bank in Kenya. He was dismissed last year. He had a salary of 800,000 shillings per month. And why he was dismissed is because he had borrowed from Shyrox, and he told me he had borrowed from 80 of them. Wow. Now, he had borrowed to a point that one of them sent him an award of the best borrower. And this award was, an elephant sculpture. I was asking him, now that you are dismissed, what exactly are you going to do? He told me that is the very best thing that can ever have happened to me. Because I have gotten hold of myself. I lost myself entirely. And why did he end up losing himself entirely? Is chasing a fallacy. You want to live in the best of places. You have taken loan in every corner of your payslip. It is still not enough. You want to take beers and drinks in the best of places. You want to chase or date the best woman. That is, of course, very expensive. So all this, even if you have what, it will never be enough. It will always drain you, destroy you. So then, what is the best thing? This may have basic principles. Okay, this is what I do. As of now, I prepay debts. How do you prepay debts? Like, for example, my kids' school fees is not cheap, but then I pay ahead, like not school fees I go pay. I've done a small standing order that pays on a monthly basis forever. So by the time a term is arriving, maybe my school fees balance is 50,000. The rest has been paid over time because I have split my school fees into 12 installments, so I prepay every other month. My parents are putting on a standing order. By the time my salary is coming, the allowance leaves like a salary. Now, electricity the same, an estimated bill. Water the same, an estimated bill. So by the time myself I'm left by the first, I don't have debts. I may not even have money, but I've prepaid all of them. Now, that's one of the concepts. Number two, you could develop some saving skills. One of the biggest problems that we have here, because I said I don't want to really get away from the context, I'm trying to ask her the question of how you can succeed, is that my savings plan are also again arranged that way. I have put my little savings like a debt to myself, that immediately my salary comes in or whatever income I have comes in, it moves to savings. I'm left without. What we do ourselves here is that you will literally wait for money to be assembled so that you save. That will never happen, even if you have what kind of numbers. But if you develop a scheme that becomes like a debt to yourself because you are generating income, you will go back to it when you stop generating that particular income. And that is how I say when I'm teaching in class that wealth is never earned. Wealth is grown. So you grow to become wealthy from what exactly you have earned, but you not earn wealth. So you must have a way of growing and multiplying that particular that you have already earned. So in summary, success is in your context. You are very successful. And that's why you find that if you can start from that particular position, then you start having a progress. Because you are where you are in a position of success because you have progressed to some levels. So meaning that in my version, I could say maybe I've come from quite far up to where I am. But I feel like I have a lot of journeys ahead of me, which I really want to capture. That, like when I talk to my colleagues, then they tell me, but you are a deputy general manager of a bank. That's a senior position. Yes, it is senior position. But deputy general manager, there's a general manager ahead of me. So, see, there's some... So it means I'm not saying that I'm chasing it, but I'm saying that you could define my success, but I can still also see there's still more to be done. So basically that was the success is context.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if we will take more questions. First of all, kindly stay in. I believe we need to hear this story, is it? So stay in the context and build your wealth by not leaving. So I know that once things started picking up and you started revenging on where you had come from, allow me to use that word, I am wondering in between, have you experienced a setback, a failure once life started picking up, and how have you handled it, either in your personal life as well as professional life?
Thank you for that. I know I'll take you back to 2007. 2007, when I was a very young banker, I had seen that I had achieved. I had achieved a lot in my context, in my thinking, 2006, 2007. So what did I do? I thought that was now the time to get married, get settled. And of course, I got a bride. I got a lady that I really wanted to marry. And I took her home. We were all happy and we thought about it. We started dating. She was working in Thika. She was working for a certain audit firm. Then over time, she thought I was too poor. So she left me. I had never been broken like that time. It was because I had already visioned myself getting married and moving on because, of course, I had started a banking career. But today when I look at it, I see God's hand. Because when I later settled, many years back, another maybe almost 10 years later, I see that it was one of the most beautiful setbacks. I'm trying to help you appreciate the things that happens to you. Sometimes they could be the worst of kind. But then in the others, on the flip side, could be the best version of your story when you look at it much later. So I'm trying to put a point of positivity in setbacks. And that is one of them that, of course, you can look at it and then you ask yourself, okay, now, let me surprise you. Much later, we had a catch-up with the lady. And she told me one thing, that she won't I forgive her. Nikamwambia, yes, I forgive you and I pray. You know, do you know those days, there was only Ken cell phones, right? I remember I would load 100, call her, beg her, soothe her, inamaliza mia like in 2 minutes. Then you look for another 100 and she couldn't hear anything to do with me. I was a poor guy. So it's those setbacks that really, and of course now that is also something I would want to tell our young people, that some of these things, let's not hurry. Because when we hurry up, sometimes they delay the growth in you. You need to grow yourself. You need to grow yourself, develop yourself, model yourself to something that can even fit other people. You see, I was a poor young man who is a young banker, and I don't blame her because she asked herself difficult questions. Do you know how the way people say that you call yourself to a conversation? This guy, apart from the shirt he has, in as much as he's a young banker, has nothing. Right? So I can't blame her. But again, I'm trying to say is that can we take time and achieve some milestones in our life before we start giving other people responsibilities of our own lives? Because a lady will come to your life as a responsibility. You will go to her life as a responsibility. So I want to say this, that your parents, take it in this context, your parents have done their part, but they are going to release you to society to do your part. And you know, don't think that you are lucky because maybe your parents have done something for you. That sometimes is the worst of the things. Because what we have noted here is that the children who have got quite a bit of inheritance, the first thing they do when they receive their part of inheritance is a lot of scattering. They scatter, like destroy and use and release. Then they'll start working, or they start working hard. So in summary, what I'm trying to say is that setbacks have happened in my life. The beautiful thing is that since that particular job of being an askari, up to today, God has been faithful. I've always had a job. So it has been a journey on the job side. I've been moving on. I've had setbacks where, like, for example, now I am able to pay school fees for my children. Like, for example, my sisters. I remember I paid school fees for my sister to a point that she was supposed to graduate, only to realize that she didn't do some of the exams. You know, the way you decide not to do. And she has been telling me I'm graduating. Can you imagine preparing for a graduation that is not there? That is not there. And you have paid school fees to the last cent. There's so many small things here and there, but of course there are no things that can discourage you. It's you move on with life.
Thank you for that. And that brings me to another part. I think I will touch your family a little bit, but for now, let me touch faith. How has it contributed to the person you've become? What is where is in the equation of success, where is faith, especially in your life?
Thanks for that. I usually think that all of us, you must believe in the supernatural. You know, when you walk into somebody's office, you don't have certificates. You don't have credentials. You don't even have the dressing. Then what else can work? It's only faith. You see, the confidence that you walk in when you go to that class and believe even yourself that the study that you're going to have that in that particular class, you're going to have a flow. Let me say this. We walk with open mind. We walk with blocked mind. It is your choosing. And what really gives you the breakthrough is your faith, the belief, I will do it. And as you give your all, then you must trust the process. And this process is always spiritually guided. Let me say this, for example. If I could guard a dam, water, at night I would just see water shining, and I'm there alone. What exactly? And you can see, imagine the risks associated with that. And it is in a forest. It is not in a city. It's not like a dam here in Mombasa. It's a dam in the Aberdares. I would go there to guard the dams from pollution and the palms from being stolen, surrounded by forest. If I could do that, it can only happen through faith. I remember I started praying quite a long time, even those days. I would just do a prayer and also pray another one in the morning because, of course, it's possible to be thrown in that dam, is it not true? And, of course, you'll be forgotten and lost and gone. I believe most likely maybe people have been thrown there and they can never be found. Now, that is about faith. And also, of course, also, faith also helps you trust the process. And lastly, faith helps you go through the process. That you know the other side, first of all, you're not alone, and the other side will come out a much better person. In essence and in summary, is that I would say faith is much bigger than hard work in the context of anything that you get yourself into. And even as you go into, whether it is work, whether it's marriage, whether it is whatever you want to own, whether it is what you want to put your hands on, believing that it's going to be okay and guided by a stronger heart that, of course, goes ahead of you, faith works wonders. For me, every day, I would say it's faith. You know, my best moment right now is when I pray with my children at night. You know, we usually have a story, then prayers, and we have got like 4 sections of prayers. We pray a general prayer, then we pray our Father, then we say the grace, then we do our last wishes, then we sleep. It really forms a component of my life, and I believe for me faith is so important.
Don't we need to give a round of applause to that? So I would like to confirm that we are coming to a tail end of the stories of significance today. And I want to say that we started with family. Dr. James was born into a family. Then he started building himself, and now he has also built his own family. So let's handle a little bit now of your own family. You mentioned family. I know a little bit about you, so I know you have a family. So could you also tell us a little bit how has been to you to build your own family, having come up from one, and how it was, and now how has it been building your own family? And of course, the question of balancing family as well as your work. How has that journey been, and how has it contributed again to the man that you are becoming? Because I also believe when we look at you, we go to the same church, I see a leader in you, your colleagues in the office look up to you. How has that been, and what values do you use to build your family as well?
Okay, so family is so important that family becomes a balancing issue in the equation of life. That is what takes you to the simplest of you, and it helps you, of course, build the strongest of you. So when my daughter runs to me, which she does every day, and tells me, "Daddy, I love you," and even if yesterday we fought, you find that is what really transforms you from the person you have been, the noisy person that has been in the office, or the person who have been handling tasks that are huge, complicated, decisions that are critical, to now this simple 5-year who just want to be assured that I love you back by the Father. Now, you know, my wife is also a banker, and she's also properly schooled. She's also graduating her PhD now. And one of the conversations we usually have, like for example, we were supposed to be here. It's only that she's stuck in some director someplace. Now, one of the conversations we usually have a lot is the journey we have come through and how it has been. You know, when I started looking for a wife, as Vio has mentioned, I started having quite a bit of faith because I really had gotten scared by the lady I wanted to marry earlier. Very, very scared. So I didn't want again to get into a lot of trouble. So what I did is that I knew she was dating someone. And so she was not a candidate for a wife. And and that is what gave me peace, because I didn't want to sit with a lady who is a candidate of becoming a wife for me. So I used to consult her. And what she used to tell me, you need to go to church. She took me to her church. Then I would see her in the choir. Then I go home. Then she invite me for some meetings. And of course, she's not interested in me. She's seen somebody else, and she's moving on. And of course, they had their own plans and all. Then I kept telling her, getting to understand women from her own version. Understanding them. And I'm not really pushing anything. I'm not even taking forward anything. Now, and why this was happening is I was really trying to protect myself. Then as fate would have it, over time, I think she spent too much time with me until she was left. Until she was left, right? Akaachwa pia. And she did not even tell me. I came to know about it much later. So when you look at those kind of stories, we realize that it was, again, faith, God's destiny. And of course, now we have our own young children, spending time with them. Let me say this. Family, as you define it, you'll face a lot of challenges. You even have a lot of points of differences in those homes. You will differ and disagree. And of course, especially right now, there's a lot of disagreements that have been coming around about money, where men are getting what you call overload on responsibilities, and women are pushing a button you call over demand. So this man can't provide all this, and the woman is pressing every button of I want, we need. So that is a conversation. You know what we did ourselves? We reached a point and we said, okay, sawa. In African culture, you are the leader, you are the provider, you have to do all that. But the only thing I'll do, I'll not push you. So make the lead, make the decisions on exactly what exactly you can. And I believe that is something I would request for every man here, from every woman who is here. That the buttons are destroying relationship and they're destroying families. Because those buttons becomes pressure points. And when they continue becoming pressure points, then he has pressure points in the office. And then at home is more pressure points. Because maybe you saw something in the neighborhood, you saw something in the church. I know some place where people even compete on how they dress, how the hair they use, blah, blah. And one thing I told her, you know what? When I got my wife, she wasn't working. So I gave her an allowance, a monthly allowance, and I took her to school. So and of course, as I've said, now she's now almost getting into a PhD. Later on, she got a very good job. So of course, she helped me over time. And of course, the minute she got her job, the first thing I did is cancel the allowance. And she complained a lot. So basically, what the argument here is this, that family, work, the balance, it just, again, let me define my day so that you can maybe most likely appreciate what I do. I wake up at 5. I go to a tennis court at Nyali Golf, play tennis for an hour. I go back to the house. I find my kids taking breakfast. We take together. I drop them at school. I go to work. If maybe I'm driving farm, maybe I'm going to Malindi, I take my driver. We go to Malindi, Kilifi, all over the place, Diani. So at least I work on the way, maybe most of the time I'm with him. So I tend to work on the way on that side. And then when I come back in the evening, I try to come back in the evening, maybe around 5:30. If I'm not teaching, I'll go to the gym at Nyali Golf, Nyali Police, somewhere there. So maybe I could most likely spend another 1 hour there. After that, I ensure, and this is me, 7:30, I'm in the house. So, of course, men have different lives. Me, you'll never find me in a club or seated somewhere, maybe taking a drink. I try to think that that particular time is sacred when I need to spend with my kids. Honestly, if you don't have that particular space with them, you're going to lose them. And you're not going to lose them as your kids because you are their father or their mother. It's the connection and they're growing up. Right now, as I've said, my kids want avionics, that is now when we discuss that. They want to watch plane landing, plane flying, whatever it is, all manner of, they'll consult. I know I have to do research because I don't have even an idea. And we'll do research with the boys. Then my daughter will complain a lot. You're spending time with the boys. Then tomorrow, of course, again, I give her time. Then when it comes like Saturday, maybe I'll take them for swimming. Even themselves, they have started tennis. My eldest son wants to play golf, or sometimes I take him for golf. So again, you spend those moments together with them as family. Then on Sunday, we always, where possible, have to go for first service. So that again, you can have a free day in the afternoon because first service starts at 8:30 up to around 10:30. So we find ourselves, and then after that, then maybe you could pass through shopping. Then you can have a free day now again with family. So that balance is important because with the way we are so busy, you spend 10 hours in the office. If you don't have those blocks, first of all, you'll most likely lose yourself. Make sure to say, if I don't go, at least have a little bit of exercise, I don't even sleep well. I mean, it is important, depending on you as a person. So if all the things you find important, family, your life and all that, give them space, and you find a day so big, it will all fit. It will all fit. Just depends on how you're going to spread it out, and of course, have a balance.
Great. This will be my third last question. Then the fourth last question will be will be a quick fire. So I hope you will be ready for the
yes, no. Yeah.
So I just want to ask this question, that what legacy do you hope to leave behind for your family, community, and profession? You are at a program called Stories of Significance, and it's because this is an opportunity for you to start now leaving those footprints and footpaths of your journey and success. So what legacy do you hope to leave behind for your family, for the community, and the profession that you work in?
I want to transform lives. And when I say transform, I want to leave changed people, changed communities. I visited APDK Changamwe Potteries. There was a volunteer there who was volunteering there in the accounts office. He told me he had volunteered for 2 years. I asked him, how much are you paid? He told me he's not paid anything. He just volunteer to support because he has that space. He want to help the disabled and the children who are not fully enabled. That boy, we gave him a job the following day. He works with us. Now, when I look at him, I ask him, do you go back? Did you go back? I wanted him maybe to hear whether he was, that is what exactly, he told me he spent every weekend there. That is what I'm looking forward to. Those are the kind of people that I want to live around. Now, I met another guy who told me that he has never in his life managed to do any interview. Why? Because every time he tried to do an interview, he can't talk. Like literally, he can't talk. Yani anaguguma kabisa, no word that can come out. So since he graduated in 2004 up to now, he has only worked for IBC. Because of course IBC just requires certificates. I gave him a job after 2-3 days. many others and many others and many others. There's a mother again who had been abused by the husband like forever. The husband would arrive and she's thrown out. She works with us. Those are the things I need to live. I need to have those transformations that really moves people's lives where I can. And that is exactly what I'm looking forward to. I don't want to sympathize for anybody. I usually say this in this life. Never, never, and please don't expect anyone to help you. But where possible, take a djembe, give a djembe to someone to go and try to do their own thing. That is much, much better. And not only give a djembe, give to those who really, really, really can do it. In summary, if I ever have to be in your class that I'm teaching, I want students who will get more than the degrees. In fact, I may not be very popular at JQuat. Of course, the things I teach are not simple, but that is not why I could be unpopular. It's because I try to push a certain other narrative of a different aspect of, I usually prefer you as a student, participating in the learning, not me teaching, right? So there is so much work that has to be done from your side, not from me, right? So, and of course, teaching at MBA is not the lower level where you are dealing with young ones. You're dealing with mature people like Ovi and others and elderly. So what it means is that I tend to call more than ordinarily what even myself was taken through in class. And that, what do I do by doing that? I try to drive you to the next level. And I believe that is the best that you can do for society. I look forward to living a transformed society. Even right now, I'm working very hard to help Coast Region, the whole of this side in the banking sector that I'm working on. I am one of the people who have developed products that are going to change the narrative. I don't want to lead a market. I'm not here to market, but I know what exactly we have done is that there are some things that have been done differently because of us and people like us trying to say that we know what exactly happens at the bottom there and what exactly is the solution at the bottom there.
Thank you. By there, I see one of your customers here that I know very well. Maybe you will send her a gift, but not the one of the greatest borrower.
You need to call her one day or him to come here and give a story of what exactly she or her has gone through in our hearts. I believe that is one of the that could be the best marketing that you can do for us.
Actually, we will book a coffee meeting with you next week.
Okay.
So my second last question is, there could be a young person, a mature person, either listening to you right now with the audience or who is going to watch you. And probably they are at crossroads with their life. What one advice could you give to them?
I'll say this. It's never so bad. Whatever crossroad you could be, it's never so bad, and you are never the first, nor are you the last. Whatever crossroad you're going through, whether it's a crossroad that is about jobs, whether it is about health, whether it's about relationship, whether it's about anything, breakups, anything, it's never so bad. It is so temporary, and it is not even important. Whichever crossroad that you are going through, it is just something passing. And you know what you need to do? Just give it its time. It will pass. Whatever it is, just give it its time.
Thank you. Now I have a quick fire with you. I have a quick fire of 7 questions. Coffee or tea?
Tea any day. I'm an addict.
If you weren't in banking, what career will you try?
I dropped teaching. Maybe I could have been, honestly, no idea.
Question 3.
I could have tried to become a clergy, a person of religion.
Question 3. What is the one quote or mantra you live by?
I'll try again. That's what I live with.
What motivates you to get up every morning?
The hope of the next day, because there is always, it's in front of you.
Leadership is, in one word,
being an example.
what is the one thing people often misunderstand about you?
My kindness. They misunderstood. If I was to, I would clarify is that, in the office, people believe that I'm kind, only to realize I'm not kind. I'm just trying to be a fair leader. Then somebody thinks it's kindness is misconstrued to be like sympathy, favors. No, but I'm being fair, being kind to my colleagues, my juniors. People sometimes may misinterpret that, and that is usually taken off. Only to realize, okay, this guy, it's like he's another envelope of things.
Thank you. Last quick fire question, question number 7. If your life was a book, what will this chapter be called?
When it happened.
Great. Now, Dr. James Maingi, this is your camera. Give us your parting shot.
To the person watching, life has blocks. And you have the opportunity of placing them and making them the foundations that forms to what you become. Every block is important, but unfortunately, the blocks don't stay on their own. They have other supporting blocks. You need people, you need colleagues, you need family. They're all important. What is important, most important for you is that as these blocks take shape, focus ahead. It is blurred as of now, but as you walk towards it, the images will be much clearer. It could be very long, the distance may be far, but ultimately will be there. Keep hope. You'll be a story.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is what Stories of Significance is. And as Serve Skills Limited, we are intentional, we are passionate, and we are very committed in transforming Africa and the world through the power of storytelling. And as you can see, the stories are personal, they are intentional, and they are very transformative if you so choose to perceive them that way. That was another powerful story of significance. I hope you are living challenged, inspired, and reminded that your story too holds the ground to inspire and transform others. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a review if this story moved you, and most importantly, share this episode with your network. Until next time, lead with vision, move with purpose, and inspire with impact. See you next episode. Your story matters too.